Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's Monday, March 13th, 2017. The top news headline this evening is out of the White House. Donald Trump and his administration has taken back the accusation that Barack Obama wiretapped his presidential campaign. Donald Trump's now saying he was misunderstood in his remarks. I want to show you why this latest news is coming today, March 13th specifically. And then I want to share with you the breakthroughs I've had in the last 48 hours. In the last 48 hours, I've had more revelations about this research than I have in the last 3+ years during any other 48-hour period. And the revelation blew my mind, and I'm sure it's going to blow yours too. So hang on. But let's first get through why this news is coming today, March 13th. So, 13/3 is the way the date is written in most parts of the world. 13/3 looks a lot like 133. White House equals 133. Government equals 133. President equals 133. This is the language of gematria. And down in the description, if you want to pause the video and use this calculator, I have the calculator link below, gematrinator.com with the link there. Just come here, type White House. These four methods are all based on the alphabetic order. If you click on the method and then over here on the right side of the screen, it'll show you the cipher for each method if you want to write these down. But they're all interrelated. White House, President, government. Check this out. This one is my favorite right here in regards to Trump. Washington, D.C. equals 187 in reverse ordinal. George Washington equals 187 in ordinal. The last Republican president before Trump was George W. Bush, born on the 187th day of the year, July 6th. Trump had his GOP convention starting July 18th, 2016, a date that can be written 18/7. That was exactly a span of 187 days before Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2017. This is the date calculator at the Gematrinator website. You just click the date table at the top. Calculator to get back to calculator. Span of 187 days from July 18th to January 20th. The day count is right here. That's the full span. If you don't check the box, it's 186 days later or a full span of 187 days. Trump's GOP convention to Inauguration Day in Washington, D.C., 187 land, 187 days. And as a reminder, Trump is part of the Society of Jesus, which is the Jesuit order. Trump was in Rockefeller Plaza the night of the election or selection. You see how this all comes together? So anyway, the calculator's linked below. Play around. You can learn a lot. Oh, here's something I used to talk about since we're on the 13th. Just a little side note. I always thought it was cool that in ordinal gematria, good summed to 41 because 41 is the 13th prime number. And people associate 13 with unlucky commonly in our culture. Some cultures consider 13 lucky, so this makes sense. But in the US, where we speak English, most people consider 13 unlucky. 41 is the 13th prime. Look at good in reverse reduction, which is something we learned about since I started this study. I always knew that the word bad was 7 in ordinal, and people associate in our culture 7 with being good. Notice how good and bad are backwards in gematria. Isn't that strange? Bad also has reverse ordinal of 74. How about that? Special number to this nation. But then again, so is 41 and 13. USA 41, 13 stripes, 13 colonies. So anyway, here we are, March 13th, 13/3, news out of the White House. White House front and center for taking back this story. Today's date also has 33 numerology. Washington, D.C. has gematria of 137, like authority, like some of those other words we just talked about. Go back and check out the ciphers. 137 is the 33rd prime. DC's the federal headquarters. Washington, D.C., very Masonic, named after the 33rd degree Freemason George Washington. So anyway, today's date, very fitting, Washington, D.C., White House related, 137, the 33rd prime. We're going to talk a bit more about 137. Something else I want to document is that from today's date to Trump's upcoming 71st birthday is 93 days. 93, the number for Saturn, the keeper of time. There's something called Saturn's magic cube, and the sum of Saturn's magic cube is 45. Trump's the 45th president. We're going to be talking about the compass and square. For Freemasonry, the compass and square is their symbol. A lot of this comes back to Saturn, occult esoteric knowledge about astrology and time. I just want you to see the gematria of compass and square because we're going to talk about a revelation regarding the compass and square, which has gematria of 93, just like Saturn has the gematria of 93. And notice Saturn also has the reversed rejection of 42 for Freemasonry. Saturn, a very important concept. Freemason 42. Notice also the 147. You gotta be a Freemason to be a president of the United States. 147. Did you know in the White House there's 147 windows and 132 rooms? Show you something about United States of America and 132 rooms in the White House. 132. England, where we got our independence, supposedly 132, also the 33. The Catholic Church, where Washington, D.C. was once called the Catholic Colony. Maryland, Mary, Washington, D.C., between Maryland and Virginia, the Virgin Mary. Where Washington, D.C. once was, the government was the Catholic Church, the Catholic Colony. That's why it's called Maryland. Catholic Church 132, United States, England. These are all players in the New World Order, which is a Masonic world order. So anyway, 93 days until Trump's birthday, who is a Jesuit, who is a Freemason. Before we get on with the big revelations about the compass, just want to also you to notice this. CNN subheadline says, Spicer, Trump didn't mean wiretapping when he tweeted about wiretapping. And notice how they emphasize wiretapping. We talked about this when the story broke. Wiretapping equals 138, like Donald Trump, like federal. The face of our federal government right now. Wiretap also sums to 97, the 25th prime. Remember when Bill Belichick, which equals 97, won the 97th NFL season Super Bowl 51? With a record comeback at 25 points, it was the 25th Super Bowl for the AFC, the 25th playoff win for Tom Brady and Belichick together. Record 25-point comeback. Donald Trump, big Patriots fan. Then the day after the Super Bowl with the record 25 comeback to close out the 97th season, the headline was 97 companies against Trump, day after the Super Bowl. I got videos documenting it all. But anyway, Wiretap 97, 97 the 25th prime. Wiretap also has gematria 43. This news broke on March 4th, a date that can be written 4/3. The Wiretap allegation, which has now been walked back 9 days later. So now let's get on with the big revelation. So the Freemason compass and square. The compass, which is for making perfect circles, geometry, measurement, measuring angles. Think about how we live in a world of cycles and circles. We're talking about Saturn, the keeper of time, orbit. The word time has gematria of 47. Time equals 47. The Freemason compass and square is set at 47 degrees. And the Freemasons have something called Euclid's 47th problem. It is about how to establish foundation for a structure. foundation in the English reduction 47, like framework, like authority, like president, like White House, like government. Are you seeing all these 47s? The 47th problem, Euclid's 47th problem. Let me also show you the word time using the alphabetic order is 47. Very special number here, 47. With regards to the compass being at 47 degrees and the Freemasons having something called Euclid's 47th problem, look at this. The tropics, which measure the solstices, which are the natural way of measuring time in this world. The summer solstice at the Tropic of Cancer in the northern hemisphere. The summer solstice, December 21st in the southern hemisphere. On June 21st in the northern hemisphere, the sun is directly overhead the Tropic of Cancer at noon. 90-degree angle. That marks summer in the northern hemisphere. December 21st, the exact same thing at midday. This is part of how they figured out the Earth was a sphere once upon a time. These tropics are 47 degrees apart. 47 degrees, time equals 47. This is the way to naturally tell time. The Freemasons pride themselves on being the keepers of knowledge, the invisible architects of society. They are the builders. They are into measurement, mathematics, surveyors who use this kind of knowledge, oftentimes Freemasons. So the tropics, 23.5 north, 23.5 south. That's a difference of 47 degrees. Just want to make sure you understand that. It's just like how the compass is set, making this 47-degree angle. You see? G is the 7th letter. 7 is the 4th prime. 7 and 4, natural pairing in mathematics. And look at this. Masonic equals 74. Jewish equals 74. And Masonry is based in Jewish history. Solomon's Temple. Solomon's Temple, which equals 58. Just like Freemasonry, just like secret society. The United States of America, I got to spell right. The United States of America, it's Independence Day, July 4th, a tribute to this fact about Freemasonry, the founders of this nation, Freemasons, Zionist Jews. Look at holiday 74, so is Independence Day is 74. 7/4, 4th day of the 7th month. So anyway, this nation, so many Masonic tributes, dates, names, historical events. We haven't got to the new information yet, though. But the thing to understand right now is this 23.5 doubled the 47-degree separation. Look at this. On the dollar bill, the pyramid has a 23.5-degree angle. And this phrase right here, annuit coeptis, look at this. Annuit coeptis sums to 58, just like Freemasonry, like secret society. Okay, are you with me? Freemasons, keepers of knowledge, invisible architects, very much invested in symbolism and mathematics. Let me read this. This is from another website right here. I just copied and pasted this. I linked the website if you want to read more about this. But this website talks about 23.5 degrees in this relation. We find the angle of 23.5 degrees and 52 degrees repeated in Templar and Masonic symbolism. Keep in mind the 52 as well, such as the Templar cross or Maltese cross, and also the Masonic compass and set square, which we will come to later. Most surprisingly, we find the angle of 23.5 degrees in Leonardo da Vinci's famous drawing, Vitruvian Man. The angle of 23.5 degrees is even referenced in one of the most infamous symbols of them all, the all-seeing eye, and the detached and floating capstone of the pyramid from which rays of light radiate, which is really a reference to the Great Pyramid of Giza, which is missing its capstone. This symbol is on every US dollar bill, and it's amazing how people could have missed this. With regards to the radiating beams of light, think about the sun and the tropics and the solstices. You know? Let us continue. Another source which gives reference to the angles of 23.5 degrees and 52 degrees are the main streets of Washington, D.C., which we find an early map of the capital city. Most researchers and writers will often bring attention to the pentagonal geometry that is said to exist on the map. However, almost everyone has overlooked the fact that these streets, which converge and center on the White House, are 23.5 degrees. There is even a 52-degree reference on this map, being the angle of New Hampshire Avenue. And real quick, we're going to focus more on 23.5 and 235. But with regards to the 52 at the White House, look, White House 52, President 52, Government 52. Donald Trump began his Jesuit training, the 187 Code, in 1964, 52 years before becoming president. This man also writes, I should also mention that while in the process of uncovering this additional data, I have also been helped along the way by others, like my co-author Philip Gardner and also Canadian researcher Don Barone, to whom I had divulged some of the key elements of my research concerning these references to 23.5 degrees. The fact that others could find that I had already predicted proved that I was dealing with the real phenomenon, something that had been overlooked by us all, even though the clues had been hiding in plain view and in many different sources throughout our known history, encoded by a secret cabal of people who believed in things, and possibly for good reason. My own theory as the reason why the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt is being referenced along with the angle of 23.5 degrees is that it might have something to do with the fact that the Great Pyramid also contains encoded information about the geophysics of the Earth's axis. And again, that comes back to the tropics. Freemasonry has been with this world for thousands of years, and it's hard to say for certain how long, because history, it's been played with, it's been manipulated, it's been distorted. But this knowledge about the world, it has been known for some time, no doubt, and that knowledge is paid tribute to in our English language. The establishment of our nation's capital, the symbolism on our dollar bills, the symbolism in the Freemason compass and square. Again, this is the gang, keeping tabs. So anyway, what tripped me out is I said, I had some huge discoveries yesterday and today. Yesterday was a span of 235 days from my birthday. Today, March 13th, is 235 days later. When I saw this, I just thought, how weird is that? I'm having these major revelations about this number, and then lo and behold, it's 235 days from my birthday. This is just another confirmation from me that the work I'm doing, I am a spiritual person. A lot of people accuse me of not being spiritual or me not showing enough spirituality in my work. I mean, to me, I don't know how you judge spirituality. I'm working for the good of humanity, working my ass off, putting out nothing but knowledge so that hopefully we can fight back and take this world back from the secret cabal. Just like my blog said since 2013. This is here to expose those who govern from the shadows. Anyway, to me, this is just a confirmation from God that, yes, I'm doing the right thing, and I feel this is also a sign from God that, He probably helped me out the last 2 days, because in the last 48 hours, a lot has come into place. Look at all the videos I put out in the last 48 hours. The book is getting better and better, Truth Seeker. You know, I wish it was done. It's going to be done. But all this knowledge is making it better. It's also making me have to go back and rewrite things. But it's worth it. So look, we're going to really hit 235, 23.5 in just a second. But I want to teach you one more thing about the Freemason compass and square before we do. So the Freemasons, they have this thing called, again, the 47th problem of Euclid, right? And in Gematria, 47th problem of Euclid sums to 333. And when I found this out, I knew exactly right away what this was all about. Freemasonry is based in Jewish history. And if I didn't say it before, Jewish equals 74, like Masonic, Freemasonry, Solomon's Temple, it's all interconnected. The birthday of this nation, a nation established by Jewish bankers. Without the United States of America, there never could have been a Zionist Israel. And real quick, before we get to Zionist Israel and what I'm about to show you, just if you don't think America's Jewish, America, 139. Freemasonry, 139. Jewish state, 139. You know, Israel's the Jewish state, but before there was Israel, there was the other Jewish state, United States of America. And that's why many people call Israel the 51st state. But check this out right here. On November 29th, 1947, the United Nations recognized Israel as a nation with a vote of 33-13. November 29th is the 333rd day of the year. In the year 47, this is the date that Israel was recognized as a nation by the United Nations. The 47th problem of Euclid is about how to establish foundation. Think about it. Creating your Jewish state, part of a long-planned agenda, which the world wars were a lead up to. Euclid's 47th problem involves 3 squares. Euclid's 47th problem of Euclid equals 333. You see, Truth Seeker, it's not an accident. Not at all. The Freemason compass and square, again, 47 degrees. It also has the 90-degree right angle. I want to show you something about 90. If you write out 90, it sums to 33. Only it and 16 are that way. The word authority has gematria of 47 and 137. If you add the 47 degrees from the compass to the 90 degrees with the triangle, you get 137 degrees. 137 is the 33rd prime number. The big G represents 33. 137, the 33rd prime. We just talked about this relationship. The United Nations, which voted Israel into existence with 33 votes, their symbol is 33 parts. 8 sections with 4 parts apiece. 8 times 4 is 32, plus the circle in the middle, 33. When I saw this 47th problem of Euclid, it also reminded me about the establishment of the United States of America. 47th problem of Euclid has gematria of 135. A lot of Masonic lodges are at the address 135, a very disproportionate amount. Philadelphia, the original capital, was established October 27, 1682, a date with 135 numerology. In the year 1947, the first professional basketball championship was won by the Philadelphia Warriors. Freemasonry created basketball as we know it. The date Philadelphia was established also has the 37 connection. It's Revelation 3:7 that talks about the Church of Philadelphia. If you read this full letter, it talks about the synagogue of Satan, the false Jews who will rule in the end times. Again, just as a reminder, Philadelphia 223. The synagogue of Satan 223. Special number to this nation, the Star-Spangled Banner 223. Notice the 119 in reverse reduction. Masonic motto, measure twice, cut once. 223. Also, the instructions for how to calculate the number of the beast. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast from Revelation 13:18, 223. Whole lot coded into that verse, but the 223 always stands out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to finish out with the revelation about 235. This is a number that I've documented more than 100 times next to Donald Trump on my blog. I'm just going to show you some of what we've been looking at and now put it together. 2, 3, and 5 are the first three prime numbers, right? And I just want you to know this about prime numbers in Gematria. They sum to 153. Special number in the Holy Bible, the miraculous catch of 153 fish. Holy Bible in reverse ordinal is 153. The Illuminati in Gematria sums to 153. The word Mason has English reduction of 17, and if you count 1 through 17 and add them together, it sums to 153. Significant number connected to prime numbers. 2, 3, 5 are the first three prime numbers. The Illuminati, the New World Order, again, is the Masonic Alliance, a Zionist alliance. These are the keepers of knowledge. All of this stuff is knowledge, information. It's why they're illuminated, and the people who don't know any of this for the most part are in the dark, because all of this information has been used to make our history and is used every day to make our news headlines. So look at this. There was this suspicious story, July 2016. I'd been keeping an eye on a riddle in the media with 235, 523, Donald Trump, assassinations, John Hinckley. I'd been talking about this from early in 2016, January and February. Then in July, it came out that John Hinckley was being released from the mental asylum he was in. This was Ronald Reagan's supposed shooting hoax by the numbers. A lot of people will probably scream and say, but what? James Brady was paralyzed. That's all acting. That's all part of the deception. It's all propaganda. That shooting supposedly happened at 2:27 in the afternoon. 22 divided by 7 gives us the number for pi. Remember, the English language, all based around pi. If you write out 22 divided by 7 as words, it sums to 314, like 3.14 for pi. If you write out 360 degrees, it sums to 227. 22 divided by 7 gives you the number for pi, having to do with circles, which have 360 degrees. Anyway, this time, another way to say it is also 33 minutes until 3. 333. Euclid's, or the 47th problem of Euclid, which has to do with the compass and circles, right? You see how this all comes together? That's why 227 is the perfect time for their staged propaganda. Anyway, they said when they were releasing him, he could only be in Williamsburg, Virginia, which isn't far from the capital. Williamsburg, Virginia has this gematria of 235. And there's this thing called Illuminati, the card game. They have a card called Hit and Run. On the card is 235 666. 666, number of the beast, which has a lot to do with pi. See how these numbers are related? We didn't understand this before, but now we see. We see the relationship. This card from this game, Hit and Run, if you can make that out, says assassination. You know, this is an assassin being released to a location with 235. Let's go to the death of Bill Clinton's biological father. Bill Clinton was born William Jefferson Blythe. His biological father died on the 137th day of the year. The Freemason compass and square, 137 degrees, 137 the 33rd prime. The date he died had 33 and 87 numerology. Bill Clinton would take on the name Clinton, which has 33 and 87 gematria. This is also the day that leaves 228 days left in the year. Death in the United States of America equal 228. But where he died, Sikeston, Missouri, check out the gematria. 235, where Bill Clinton's biological father died by the numbers. Now think about it. The compass set 47 degrees apart, each arm 23.5 degrees pointing out. You see? And look at his birthday, February 27th, 227. You see this? You can't make this stuff up. See how redundant the powers that shouldn't be are? I probably waited too long to get to these points for people watching. I know the average US citizen only has about a 5-minute attention span. But anyway, I'll link all these blog posts if you want to share these with people. There's a whole lot coded in here. Here was a headline, September 6th, Freemason equals 42 and 96. How Trump could win. How Trump could win. 235, also 88 like Trump, like program, like poison, what he's been doing all this time. Headlines from just the other day, Trump on track to create 25 million new jobs, created 235,000 jobs in the first month. Do you think he really did? On a fitting date for Donald stories, 50 and 23 numerology, just like the name Donald. Trump in the gutter. This was after the pussy grabber remarks. You know, Donald Trump who wants to have sex with his daughter. The pussy grabber. Isn't it amazing how the Republicans, they'll just turn their head about... It's like, you know what I'm saying. Christian Republicans, they always say how disgusting Democrats are. But these Republicans, I mean, how do they look the other way and not see this? The pussy grabber who wants to fuck his own daughter. Trump in the gutter. Well, he ended up winning. That story also came a span of 33 days before the election, by the way. But Trump in the gutter, they had a little 235 there. There was this Simpsons cartoon, Trump-tastic Voyage. The Simpsons code everything in gematria. The name Simpsons 33. Trump-tastic Voyage, 235. Witches plan to cast spells on Donald Trump. Notice the word spell in English gematria is 235. This Saturday Night Live skit this past Saturday, March 11th, 5:23 for the skit. You know, popular on YouTube right now. Donald Trump and Satanic Gematria, 5:23. SNL having a field day with the 45th president, SNL 45, something we've talked about many times. Donald Trump talking about Alex Jones and shapeshifters in the skits. Again, the date of this skit was March 11th, 11/3, mainstream 113, dishonest, bullshit, fiction, Scottish isn't Scottish right, Freemasonry 113. Just put out work on the death of Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee. We talked about how Bruce Lee died 235 days after his 32nd birthday. You know? 235. Very Masonic death, him and his son. Check out my video on Bruce and Brandon Lee. I did a lot of work on the plane crashes by the numbers, how a lot of them were synced up with the missing plane, Malaysian flight, MH370 with 239 passengers, 239 the 52nd prime. We were talking about 52. Look at this. From MH370's disappearance to the two other Trans-Asia airlines that crashed after, one crashed 137 days later. The other one was flight 235 that crashed 333 days later. Euclid's, you know, the 47th prom having the gematria of 333, related to the compass, 47 degrees, you know. Truth seeker. And the date of that wreck 333 days later was February 4th, 4/2, Freemason 42, February 42. And if you go through my blog, there's just so much more. I mean, this is just some of it. You know, there's a million other things on here. When JP Morgan surpassed Wells Fargo, they said it was after this. Wells Fargo market cap dropped to $235 billion on Tuesday. That's about $4 billion less than JP Morgan's price tag. That drop put JP Morgan in front. The $235 billion drop. And again, you want to go through my blog, there's just so much 235 I've documented. See, this is what I've understood the whole time I've been making my blog. As I've been documenting, I've always said, okay, I don't fully understand these numbers, but someday I'm going to get what it's all about. And over time, you know, that's what it is. Looking at all these pieces, then finally finding enough information to connect the dots. Now we see why this number comes up so much. We knew it was Freemasonry. The answer was right in front of our face all this time. These people's secrets are going to be secrets no longer. You know, esoteric knowledge, it's soon going to be for the masses. And these people aren't going to be able to get away with their shenanigans by the numbers, which means their power will be decreased, which means more power has been restored to the people. You know, that was my point from the beginning. Free to find truth, dedicated to exposing those who govern from the shadows, the invisible empire. Here they are, the invisible architects. Until next time, Truth Seeker.